Evacuate the city. Engage all defenses. And get this man a shield.
So there's a small movie coming out this weekend. It's not a very big picture at all. You've probably never heard of it. It's called Avengers Infinity War. And if you're just not bursting at the seams in excitement at even just hearing about that, there are three possibilities. 1, you're dead. 2, you're depressed and life has no meaning. Or 3, you're a DC Comics fan. Which makes now a perfect time to go through
Top 10 MCU Movies.
Few ground rules to lay out here. First of all, this is strictly MCU based movies. People might be watching this and be wondering, where is Spider-Man 2 or X2? And the reason why isn't because I don't love those movies. I absolutely do. The reason why they're not on this list is because they are not set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So those will be saved for a different list I'll be doing at a later time. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to lay out there is that this is my personal list. This is not based off of Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb or, any other established list out there. This is strictly based off of my opinions of all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies that have been made up until this point. So with that, let's go ahead and plow right in. And just as a precursor, spoiler warning ahead for movies from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So with that, grab your action figures. Grab your fandom, and let's go through my
Number 10.
We'll start this list off with an uncontroversial option. Number 10 is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. A fun, action-packed, and thrilling sequel that kind of spins the franchise on its head, effectively breaking away from its World War II roots. Why is it so low on the list? Probably because, for me, I feel like it weighed too much on its government-based themes, more than I would have liked them to. I watched this movie, I really wanted to see how Captain America was personally affected by jumping from the 20th century to the 21st century. And I just feel like I didn't get enough of that. But as far as turning the Captain America mythology from like a World War II story to like a government Jason Bourne-esque thriller, this movie gets props for that, and it definitely deserves a spot in the top 10.
Number 9.
A movie featuring Andy Dwyer, green aliens, a talking raccoon, and a talking tree. I wouldn't think that would be a Marvel movie, let alone be on my top 10. And yet here we have it, Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a fantastic movie, and it was a huge surprise. Honestly, going into this movie, I felt like I was going to watch like my first major disappointment in the Marvel Universe. I felt like I was going to go in and be like, okay, this is where it goes downhill. Nope, this is where it picks up speed. The movie is funny, it's exciting, it's dramatic, it's touching, it's emotional, surprisingly, and it easily has one of the most bumpin' soundtracks I've ever heard in any Marvel Cinematic Universe movie.
Number 8.
So, remember that part of the video where I said you're going to disagree with some of the entries on this list? Yep, here's the first one. I know everyone hated this movie for how much it deviated from the comics, and really how much it ruined some of the most cherished characters from Iron Man. But there's a certain type of ballsiness and creativity you have to appreciate in a movie like Iron Man 3. Oh, people are clicking away from the video. Stop, stop, stop. Just hear me out. First time I watched this movie, I was like, they really did that to Mandarin. They really did that to the Mandarin. They took Iron Man's biggest enemy, his equivalent to Batman's Joker, to Spider-Man's Green Goblin, to Superman's Lex Luthor. These guys took Iron Man's greatest villain and turned him into a joke. Which I would hate if the movie didn't have a good villain to substitute for Ben Kingsley. But they did in Guy Pearce, and he was a fantastic villain. He wasn't the Mandarin, absolutely not, but he was a fantastic villain. And with Robert Downey Jr., man, I love this guy. I love him as Iron Man, and I would argue that this is his funniest performance as Iron Man. Bring in Robert Downey Jr.'s charisma, Shane Black's screenplay, and just the mind-boggling, shocking twist in this movie. And you have a very fun experience in Iron Man 3.
Number 7.
The first Avengers was a miracle in movie making. I was not expecting them to bring in 5 different movies fluidly into one cohesive narrative as excellently as they did with the Avengers. After seeing it, I was like, that movie is too great. There is no way they can do as great a job a second time. I was right. They didn't do it just as good. But they came pretty damn close with Avengers Age of Ultron. Basically everything that I liked about this movie, long story short, it's a watered down version of the Avengers. That's the best way I can describe it. It still has the same great action, it still has all those fantastic Easter eggs. The cast is phenomenal with each other, their chemistry, they feel like a team. But the make it or break it for this movie was James Spader as Ultron, and holy cow, he was amazing as Ultron. James Spader's approach to Ultron is different. He's more dry, he's more sarcastic, he's more sardonic than you would expect an android to be. Combining his dark humor with the coldly calculative way he processes things, it just made him a really fascinating villain. In either case, Avengers Age of Ultron isn't as impactful as the Avengers was, but it still was a fun movie. It still kept the Marvel train running efficiently enough. And at the very least, if it does nothing else, it makes me even more excited for Avengers Infinity War.
Number 6.
Next up is Marvel's first foray into fantasy, their magical equivalent to Iron Man, Doctor Strange. I was pumped out of my mind excited when I found out Benedict Cumberbatch was cast as Doctor Strange, but I was admittedly nervous because this was Marvel's first genuine plunge into a magic-based movie. And they handled it beautifully. Scott Derrickson was a great director, Benedict Cumberbatch was a great Doctor Strange. The visual effects are hands down the best they are out of the entire series. And the movie does a great job taking us on a transformational journey from a man turning into an egotistical neurosurgeon to the Sorcerer Supreme. I loved the heck out of this movie. So much so, it was really hard to put 5 movies above it.
Number 5.
So Thor, the God of Thunder, good. The Incredible Hulk, also good. But what's the key to making a great Marvel movie? Apparently putting them together. Yeah, Thor Ragnarok. I never would have thought in a million years that this would be a good movie. I had less faith in this movie than I had in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Because here's what you had going here. You had Thor, who is arguably the least interesting out of all the Avengers. You have Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, who has not had a solo feature since Edward Norton. You have them down in a movie together that's the equivalent of a watered-down version of the Planet Hulk storyline. And you have it in the humorous, in-cheap tone akin to the Guardians of the Galaxy. How is this a good movie? This was a series that has been taking itself way too seriously for the past several movies now. So Taika Waititi comes in and he's like, okay, you know what? Let's turn this into an SNL skit. That's what they did, and it ended up being the best out of what is mostly a mediocre trilogy.
Number 4.
Number 4 is the piece de la resistance, the creme de la creme, the great-grandfather that started this entirely beautiful thing in the first place, Iron Man. And again, like any of the other movies on this list, I went in, I was not expecting anything great at all. You know, Robert Downey Jr., I haven't seen him since Zodiac. I didn't really expect a lot out of him, and I didn't know how good he was going to be as Iron Man. Turns out he is every bit Tony Stark, as Christopher Reeve as Superman, as Hugh Jackman as Logan, as Heath Ledger as Joker. Yeah, I went there. And the thing is, it's not even just a great superhero movie, it's a great movie, period. Like, it has really personal stakes involved, the character goes through a really transformational journey, and the movie has a lot of energy available to really focus on the character and not be distracted by all the other Easter eggs and moving parts of the Marvel Cinematic Universe behind it. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe and everything that's come out of it, but there are times where it focuses too much on the world building towards its future sequels, and it doesn't focus enough on the character that it's dealing with in the moment. Since it's the first out of the series, Iron Man is the one least affected by that, and it stands out the most because of that. Love this movie, love Iron Man, love Robert Downey Jr. Please don't die in Infinity War.
Number 3.
Number 3 is the movie where people looked at it and they were like, okay, this is where the Marvel Cinematic Universe is really building up into something special, and that is the Avengers. Again, I had no idea what to expect with this. This is the first, serious, world-building movie that they've done in a long time. There have been other, film meshes of other genres before, but none really as built up as this. And I was really scared. I was like, they're combining the Hulk, Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor in one movie. I don't know how this is going to go. It ended up working very well. Joss Whedon writes a really human screenplay that feels equal parts exciting, humorous, and emotional. The actors are just as great in this movie as they were in previous movies, and their chemistry just works so well and meshes so beautifully into each other. You know how when you were a kid and you had like these two different action figures from two different cartoons and you were playing out like these scenarios in your head? This movie felt like that, except it wasn't going on in your mind. It wasn't make-believe. It was real. It is easily one of the most magical moments I've ever seen in cinema. I'm glad I was alive to witness it myself personally.
Number 2.
You knew Captain America was going to be on this list a second time. You knew it. There's no way. I have a Steve Rogers beard here going on. I have a Captain America shirt on. I love the heck out of Captain America. And that's why Captain America Civil War is number 2. People have joked that Civil War is more of an Avengers 2.5 than it is a Captain America movie. I kind of see it in a way, but this is also a movie really personal to Steve Rogers and his relationship with Bucky Barnes that has been made a lot more complicated through Winter Soldier. The way I see this movie, it's a fallout from Avengers Age of Ultron and the Winter Soldier, and it explodes in emotional chaos. I mean, you have this complex thing going on over there with Captain America, you have this complex thing going on over there with Tony Stark, you have this complex thing going on over there with Black Panther, who was amazing in this movie, by the way, oh my god. On top of that, you have an amazing debut of Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Seriously, guys, I am a Tobey Maguire diehard. I love the Sam Raimi movies. And I am telling you, Tom Holland is one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite Spider-Man out of the ones represented on screen so far. And more than that, I think the thing that I really appreciate the most about Civil War is that it shows that heroism, it's not a simple thing. Heroism is a human thing, and as with all human things, it's complex and aggravated, and there aren't really simple solutions to it. For Captain America Civil War to come out the same year as one of the most divisive presidential elections of our time, I think it's really profound in how it shows the devastating effects of division and disagreement. For this movie to be that profound while at the same time being that entertaining, I'm just endlessly impressed by it.
Number 1.
This is it. This is the top dog. This is number 1. This is my absolute favorite film out of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. And let's be honest, at this point I've exhausted every single movie under the Marvel Cinematic Universe's library. Iron Man, the Avengers, Thor Ragnarok, the Captain America movies. I've used every single masterpiece this fantastic franchise has had to offer except for Black Panther.
You need a hero.
One of my biggest concerns watching this movie was how exactly it was going to handle the race element in this picture. I knew they were going to address it, but my biggest concern was I didn't want them to get so obsessed with that theme to the point where it lost focus on Black Panther's story. That was my biggest concern going to see this movie. But with Killmonger's backstory, man, the fact that he was left to fend for himself at such a young age, and the really harsh environment that he was brought up on, with that amount of loss and personal tragedy he had to face. The minute I saw his backstory, it just hit me like a train. I was like, oh my god, this is what so many Americans are going through right now. And in that, the movie finds its heart, it finds its niche, it finds that point that finesses a really real African-American struggle into this very supernatural superhero movie. Part of this movie that really struck me, it was when T'Challa went back to the building where Killmonger had everything taken from him as a kid, and he decided, I'm going to reinvest in these communities, I'm going to give back, I'm going to give these kids the chance that Killmonger never did. And the thing that's so powerful about that is that that's not like a superheroic thing to do. That's a normal thing any person can do, you and myself included. Here's how I weighed Black Panther's impact. The Avengers, Iron Man, Captain America Civil War, Doctor Strange, all of them, I came out thinking, wow, that was a great movie. But with Black Panther, I got something different. When I left the theater, I just had a complete shell-shocked reaction. I was just like, wow, that was a great movie. Where's the nearest NAACP chapter I can donate to? By the way, link in the description. The point being is that Black Panther was an entertaining experience, yes, but to me it was something much more than that. It was a great representational exercise in celebrating another culture and celebrating the human spirit that we can help each other even if we have very little in common. The villains and the action, the fight scenes in this movie, yeah, it's very fictional, but the struggles that these characters face in this movie and the problems that were afflicted on them are very real in today's world. They're going on in our communities today. They're going on in the streets right next to us, in the cities right next to us, and we can do something about that if we put a hand forward to. And that's why Black Panther's gotta be number one, man. It made me want to be my own personal superhero and prop other people up to be their own superhero. That was Black Panther's message, man. It was a great message, it was a great movie, and it's arguably the best movie out of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, and definitely my own personal favorite. Okay guys, so that has been my list. Are you going to go see Avengers Infinity War? Which Avenger do you think is going to die? What's in your personal top 10? And as always, I'll see you, my fellow Marvelites, at the movies.